Admiral Jessica Mitchell watched the last remnants of New Washington's defense grid sputter and die through the bridge viewport of the U.S. Defiant. The once proud capital of the United North American Alliance was now just another burning tribute to humanity's defiance. And yet, as she watched the Zarkathi warships methodically reducing the planetary shield generators to slag, a grim smile played across her weathered features. "Status report on the quantum drive integration," she demanded, her voice steady despite the distant tremors of orbital bombardment. Lieutenant Commander Marcus Rivera looked up from his console, dark circles under his eyes betraying weeks of sleepless nights. "Final calibrations complete. Admiral, all 17 ships report ready for protocol exodus, though I should note again that we've never attempted a synchronized quantum jump with this many vessels." "Noted, Marcus. But we're fresh out of safer options." Mitchell moved to the tactical display, where red dots representing Zarkathi ships vastly outnumbered the handful of blue markers that represented Earth's last fleet. The remaining ships were special, prototype vessels equipped with experimental quantum drives that the Overlords knew nothing about. It was humanity's final card to play. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, but Mitchell caught the tremor in their hands, the quick glances at personal photos tucked into console edges. They all knew what was at stake. The Zarkathi had systematically crushed every major military installation on Earth over the past month, their neural-linked battle networks proving devastatingly effective against conventional human tactics. "Admiral," the sensor officer's voice cracked with urgency. "Multiple Zarkathi dreadnoughts entering low orbit. They're deploying terraforming equipment." Mitchell's jaw clenched. The Overlords weren't content with just defeating humanity. They planned to remake Earth itself, transforming it into something more suitable for their physiology. She'd seen it happen to other worlds during the war, entire planets stripped of their original ecosystems. "Send the signal to all ships," she ordered, her voice carrying across the now silent bridge. "Initiative Exodus begins now." Emergency klaxons blared throughout the fleet as crews scrambled to their jump stations. The Zarkathi ships, detecting the power surge from the human vessels, began to alter their formation. But they were too late. "They're targeting our engines," Rivera reported tensely, calculating firing solutions. Mitchell keyed the fleet-wide comm. "This is Admiral Mitchell to all ships. Earth has fallen, but humanity has not. Remember your homes, remember your families, but most of all, remember this moment. We're not running away. We're going to find a way to beat these bastards, and then we're coming back." The first salvos from the Zarkathi fleet lit up space between them, their energy weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. The Overlords wanted to capture the human ships intact, to study and assimilate their technology as they had done to countless other species. "Quantum drives at full power," Rivera announced. "Jump coordinates locked in." Mitchell took one last look at the burning Earth below. "Execute jump." Reality twisted. The bridge crew gripped their stations as space itself seemed to fold around them. Through the viewport, Mitchell watched the other ships of her fleet elongate impossibly before vanishing in flashes of brilliant light. The Defiant shuddered, alarm screaming as the experimental drive pushed far beyond its tested limits. Then everything went white. When Mitchell's vision cleared, Earth and the Zarkathi fleet were gone. Instead, an unfamiliar starfield stretched before them. One by one, the other ships of the fleet winked into existence nearby, their hulls glowing with residual energy from the jump. "Damage report," Mitchell ordered, steadying herself against her command chair. "All ships present and accounted for," Rivera responded, his voice thick with relief. "Minor systems damage from the jump stress, but we're operational." Mitchell nodded, already focusing on their next move. They'd escaped, but that was only the beginning. Somewhere out here, they would find a way to defeat the undefeatable. And when they did, the Overlords would learn why humanity had survived every catastrophe in its history. "Plot a course away from any known space lanes," she commanded. We've got work to do. The massive derelict appeared on their sensors like a ghost materializing from the void. 3 weeks after their desperate escape from Earth, the fleet had been making short quantum jumps between uncharted systems, always staying one step ahead of their hunters. That can't be natural, Rivera muttered, manipulating the sensor controls. The object before them stretched nearly 15 kilometers from bow to stern, its angular hull covered in geometric patterns that definitely weren't random space debris. Admiral Mitchell leaned forward in her command chair. Magnification on the hull markings. The view screen shifted, revealing script carved deep into the vessel's armor plating. Lines of alien text, hundreds of different writing systems, overlapped each other like desperate graffiti. But one message, repeated in every language, stood out clearly. QUARINTI. Du NNOTENTR. Well, Mitchell said with a grim smile, now we definitely have to check it out. The Defiant's shuttle bay dispatched a reconnaissance team while the rest of the fleet maintained a defensive perimeter. Mitchell insisted on leading the boarding party herself, despite Rivera's protests. As their shuttle approached the derelict, massive entry ports cycled open automatically, as if the ancient ship had been waiting for them. Life support still functioning, reported Lieutenant Sarah Chen, their xenotechnologist, her helmet sensors scanning the cavernous landing bay. Power readings are minimal but present. This ship's been running on auxiliary systems for centuries, at least. The boarding party moved cautiously through corridors hailed for beings much larger than humans. Their helmet lights illuminated walls covered in more warning messages, and occasionally scorch marks from ancient weapons fire. Admiral, Chen called out suddenly, you need to see this. They entered what appeared to be a medical bay. Preserved in stasis fields were the bodies of Zarkathi warriors, their chitinous armor unmistakable even after countless years. But something was wrong with them. Their neural interface ports, the cybernetic implants that gave the species their technological superiority, had been completely destroyed. The surrounding tissue transformed into a crystalline substance. Look at their expressions, Chen whispered. They died in agony. Mitchell approached one of the stasis pods, studying the fallen warrior. This wasn't just a weapon. This was specifically designed to target their neural networks, to turn their greatest strength into a weakness. A sudden tremor ran through the ship. Emergency lights flashed to life, and a booming voice echoed in an unknown language. Translation matrix engaging, Chen announced, fingers flying over her datapad. It's announcing startup of automated defense systems. We triggered something. Security drones emerged from recessed wall panels, their ancient weapons powering up. The boarding party scattered for cover as energy bolts sizzled through the air. Mitchell dove behind a console, drawing her pulse pistol. Rivera, she barked into her comm. Get the fleet ready to extract us. Chen, find us a way to shut these things down. Working on it. Chen called back, her datapad interfacing with the ship's systems. There's something else, Admiral. I'm picking up recent access signatures in the ship's database. Someone else has been here within the last few months. A drone exploded as Mitchell's shot found its mark. The Zarkathi. No, Chen replied, her voice tense with concentration. The signatures don't match their technology. There's another player in this game. More drones were appearing, forcing the team to retreat toward the shuttle bay. But Mitchell noticed something odd. The drones weren't shooting to kill. They were hurting the humans, driving them toward specific sections of the ship. Hold position, she ordered. They're trying to force us somewhere. Chen, can you access the ship's logs? Find out what's so important about. Her words cut off as a massive hologram blazed to life in the center of the chamber. It showed a star system Mitchell didn't recognize and a set of coordinates pulsing with urgent significance. It's not just a weapon, Chen breathed, understanding dawning in her voice. This whole ship is a message, a map leading to something the Zarkathi fear. Mitchell stared at the coordinates, memorizing them. Whatever this ship was guarding, whatever terrible weapon had been used here, It might be exactly what humanity needed. But first, they had to survive the next few minutes. "Everyone back to the shuttle," she commanded. "We've got what we came for, and we're not the only ones looking for it." The abandoned mining facility in the Arcturus belt had become humanity's best hope for survival. Once a Centaurian helium-3 extraction site, its vast processing chambers now housed the fleet's improvised shipyards. Admiral Mitchell stood at the observation deck, watching crews retrofit the experimental weapons derived from the ghost ship's data. "Another sabotage attempt in Section 7, Rivera reported, joining her at the window. "Third one this week." They destroyed 2 prototype neural disruptors before security contained the situation. Mitchell's expression hardened. "Casualties. 2 injured, no fatalities." "But Admiral," Rivera hesitated. "The saboteur killed himself before questioning, just like the others." Something about this pattern had been bothering Mitchell for weeks. The saboteurs were too precise, too knowledgeable about their targets, yet their tactics didn't match known Zarkathi protocols. "Show me the security footage," she ordered, moving to a nearby console. The holographic display showed the incident from multiple angles. The saboteur moved with military precision, bypassing security checkpoints using valid codes. But what caught Mitchell's attention was a subtle gesture, a 3-fingered hand signal just before the final explosion. "Freeze that frame," she commanded. "Enhance Sector 4. The image zoomed in on a small tattoo visible on the saboteur's wrist, 3 interconnected circles surrounding a star. Mitchell's blood ran cold. She'd seen that symbol before, in classified briefings about the Artemis Initiative, a shadowy human organization that had opposed first contact with alien species. "It's not the Zarkathi," she said quietly. "It's our own people." Rivera swore under his breath. But why would humans sabotage our only chance at? The facility's alarms suddenly blared to life. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut throughout the complex as warning lights bathed everything in red. "Multiple hull breaches detected," a voice announced over the comm. "Unidentified vessels emerging from the asteroid field." Mitchell was already moving. "Get me a secure channel to the fleet. All ships to battle stations." But as she reached the command center, the tactical display revealed something unexpected. The attacking ships weren't Zarkathi designs. They were human vessels, bearing markings she'd never seen before. "This is Director Marcus Kane of the Artemis Initiative," a voice announced on all frequencies. "Admiral Mitchell, your unauthorized experiments risk drawing unwanted attention. Stand down and prepare to surrender the facility." Mitchell keyed the comm. "This is Admiral Mitchell. You're interfering with humanity's best chance at liberation. Stand down or be fired upon." "Liberation." Kane's laugh was cold. "The Zarkathi aren't our enemy, Admiral. They're our opportunity. Their presence forces humanity to evolve, to become stronger. Your weapons would only weaken us in the long run." Understanding dawned. The Artemis Initiative didn't want to defeat the Overlords. They wanted to use Earth's occupation to forge humanity into something harder, more ruthless. "All ships, defensive formation Delta," Mitchell ordered. "But hold your fire. They're trying to provoke us into revealing our new weapons." The enemy fleet spread out, taking position around the facility's key structures. They had the tactical advantage. Mitchell's ships were still docked, many undergoing modifications. "They're launching boarding pods," Rivera reported. "Multiple insertion points." Mitchell studied the tactical display, noting how the enemy ships positioned themselves. Kane was good, but he'd made one crucial mistake. "Activate the mining drones," she commanded with a grim smile. Throughout the asteroid belt, hundreds of automated mining units suddenly powered up. Kane's ships had dismissed them as defunct equipment, but Mitchell's engineers had been busy. The drones swarmed toward the Artemis vessels, their mining lasers repurposed into crude but effective weapons. "All hands, prepare for emergency undocking procedures," Mitchell broadcast. "Engineering teams, initiate Protocol Sunburst." The facility's reactor core began to pulse with increasing energy. Kane's forces, caught between the drone swarm and the threatened reactor overload, started to fall back. "This isn't over, Mitchell," Kane's voice crackled over the comm. "The strong survive. That's the only truth that matters." "You're wrong," Mitchell replied. "The smart survive. The adaptable survive. And those who work together survive. That's humanity's real strength, and you've forgotten it." As the Artemis ships retreated, Mitchell turned to Rivera. "Begin evacuation procedures. This facility is compromised. But first, download everything we have on the Artemis initiative. We need to know who else might be working with them." The real war, she realized, wasn't just against the Zarkathi anymore. It was for humanity's very soul. The distress signal pulsed like a heartbeat in the void, its encrypted pattern mimicking common space debris telemetry. If Mitchell's fleet hadn't been running silent after the Artemis incident, they might have missed it entirely. "Analysis confirms it's using pre-war resistance frequencies," Rivera reported. "But there's something else embedded in the signal. Mathematical sequences I've never seen before." The coordinates led them to what appeared to be a massive asteroid, but as they approached, the rock face rippled and dissolved, a holographic camouflage concealing the sprawling space station. Its design was unlike anything Mitchell had ever seen, combining technologies from at least a dozen different species. "This is Research Station Omega," a voice transmitted on their secure channel. "Admiral Mitchell, we've been expecting you. Welcome to the underground." The docking procedures were elaborate, involving multiple security checkpoints and scanner suites. When Mitchell finally stepped onto the station with her team, she found herself in a nexus of rebellion. Alien scientists worked alongside human researchers, their laboratories filled with salvaged Zarkathi technology. Their guide was Dr. Xanthar, a towering insectoid being with crystalline eyes. "We followed your resistance with great interest, Admiral, particularly your discovery of the ghost ship." "How did you know about?" Mitchell started. "Because we led you to it," Xanthar clicked, "just as the Artemis Initiative tried to stop you from finding it. There's a war being fought in the shadows, Admiral, one that predates the Zarkathi occupation of Earth." They entered a vast circular chamber dominated by a holographic display of the galaxy. Hundreds of worlds glowed red, marking Zarkathi conquests. But scattered throughout were pockets of blue, hidden resistant strongholds. "The Overlords aren't naturally superior," Xanthar explained. "They're neural networks, stolen from the Proxins. They're faster than light technology, adapted from Centaurian designs. For millennia, they've conquered species at precisely the moment they make a breakthrough, assimilating their advances while destroying the evidence." Mitchell watched the holographic display cycle through centuries of expansion. "Why are you showing us this?" "Because humanity did something unprecedented." Another scientist stepped forward, a human woman with cybernetic augmentations. "I'm Dr. Elena Santos, formerly of the Mars Institute. When the Zarkathi came, they expected to find a primitive species. Instead, they found one that had developed along completely different technological lines. Your quantum drive. It's unlike anything they've encountered." Before Mitchell could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Security screens lit up showing multiple incoming vessels. "Zarkathi patrol fleet," Rivera announced tensely. "They must have tracked us." But Dr. Santos was smiling. "No, Admiral, they didn't track you. We leaked our location." "You did what?" Mitchell demanded. "Because they're carrying something we need," Xanthar explained. "The latest version of their neural command protocols. The underground has developed a virus that could disable their entire network, but we need current access codes." Mitchell quickly grasped the plan. "You're using us as bait. We're offering you a chance to test your new weapons while we acquire vital intelligence," Santos corrected. "The station's defenses can hold them off, but your fleet's assistance would be appreciated." The tactical displays showed 5 Zarkathi cruisers approaching. Against Mitchell's 17 ships, it would be the first real test of their reversed engineer technology. "One condition," Mitchell stated. "We get full access to everything you learn about their neural networks." "Agreed," both scientists said simultaneously. Mitchell turned to Rivera. "Battle stations. But this time, we're not running." The next 30 minutes were chaos. Mitchell's fleet engaged the Zarkathi ships, while underground hackers worked to penetrate their systems. The new weapons worked better than expected, the neural disruptors causing entire sections of the enemy ships to go dark. When it was over, 3 Zarkathi cruisers were disabled, 1 destroyed, and 1 had retreated. The underground's labs were already processing the captured data. "There's something else you need to see," Santos said afterward, leading them deeper into the station. They entered a heavily secured chamber containing a single stasis pod. Inside was a Zarkathi, but different from any Mitchell had seen. Its neural ports were more primitive, its armor less advanced. "This is what they looked like before they began stealing technology," Santhar explained. "Before they became the Overlords. They're not gods, Admiral. They're thieves. And now, thanks to humanity's unique advancements, we finally have a chance to expose their lie to the galaxy." The Zarkathi Enlightenment Center loomed before them, a twisted spire of black metal rising from the surface of what had once been a human colony world. Mitchell stood on the Defiance Bridge, studying tactical readouts of the facility's defenses. Preliminary scans show over 300 human prisoners, Rivera reported, his voice tight with anger. "They're being modified. Neural implant testing." Mitchell's jaw clenched. The underground's intelligence was correct. The Zarkathi weren't just imprisoning humans, they were experimenting on them, trying to adapt their neural network technology to human brains. "Launch the infiltration pods," she ordered. "Stealth systems at maximum." As the assault began, something felt wrong. The facility's outer defenses fell too easily, the guard patterns too predictable. Mitchell had learned to trust her instincts. "Hold position," she commanded the advance teams. "Something's not." "Admiral," Rivera's voice cut through the comm. "We're detecting human biosignatures among the facility staff. They're working with the Zarkathi, voluntarily." The tactical display showed them clearly now. Human figures in Zarkathi medical garb, assisting with the experiments, collaborators, or worse, believers in the Overlord's twisted vision of enlightenment. "This is Dr. James Conrad," a human voice broadcast on all frequencies. "Admiral Mitchell, I know you're out there. These experiments are necessary. The Zarkathi aren't our enemies. They're our evolutionary destiny. Every species reaches this point. Join us and help humanity ascend." Mitchell recognized the voice. Conrad had been one of Earth's leading neuroscientists before the invasion. His presence explained how the Zarkathi had adapted their technology so quickly to human physiology. "Show me the primary testing chamber," she demanded. The video feed made her blood run cold. Rows of humans suspended in biotanks, neural implants sprouting from their skulls like metallic parasites. Some were awake, their eyes reflecting a horrible mixture of agony and ecstasy. "Team Alpha, proceed to holding cells," Mitchell ordered. "Beta Team, secure the data centers. Conrad and his staff are to be detained, not eliminated. They'll answer for their crimes." The rescue operation turned into room-by-room combat. Some of the human staff fought alongside the Zarkathi guards with religious fervor, believing they were protecting humanity's ascension. "Admiral," her tactical officer called out, "we've got incoming. 3 Zarkathi battlecruisers just dropped out of FTL." Mitchell had expected this. Spring the trap. Hidden throughout the nearby asteroid field, the rest of the fleet powered up their weapons. The neural disruptors, now refined after the underground battle, targeted the Zarkathi ship's command and control systems. But inside the facility, Conrad had one last card to play. "If we can't ascend," his voice echoed through the halls, "then no one will." The facility's reactors began overloading, threatening to destroy everything within a 100-kilometer radius. Mitchell ran tactical scenarios in her head. The fleet could escape in time, but the prisoners. Rivera, status of the evacuation. Only 60% of the prisoners are secure. We need at least 10 more minutes. We don't have 10 minutes, her engineering chief cut in. That reactor's going critical in less than 5. Mitchell made her decision. All teams continue evacuation. Rivera, get me a secure channel to Conrad's position. The video feed showed the scientist in the facility's control center, surrounded by loyal staff and Zarkathi guards. You don't understand, Conrad ranted. The Overlords chose us. We're special. No, Doctor, Mitchell replied calmly. We chose ourselves. That's what makes us human. She nodded to her tactical officer. Deploy the prototype. A focused beam of energy, developed from the Ghost ship's technology, lanced out from the Defiant. Instead of destroying the facility's reactors, it transformed them, crystallizing the overload into a containment field. The same technology that had killed the Zarkathi on the Ghost ship was now saving lives. As Conrad was taken into custody, Mitchell watched the rescued prisoners being brought aboard her ships. Their implants would be removed, their minds restored. But the horror in their eyes reminded her that victory wasn't just about defeating the Overlords. It was about preserving what made humanity human in the first place. Set course for the rendezvous point, she ordered. And send word to the underground. Tell them we've confirmed their worst fear. The Zarkathi aren't just stealing technology anymore. They're trying to create something new. Information is a weapon. Mitchell addressed her fleet commanders through encrypted channels. Today, we start using it. The fleet had split into smaller wolf packs, each targeting different sectors of Zarkathi space. But they weren't just attacking supply lines. They were broadcasting the truth. Every disabled ship, every liberated facility received the same transmission. Footage of the Overlord's original form, proof of their stolen technologies, evidence of their lies. Rebellion reported in the Proxima colonies. Rivera reported from his new command, the U.S. Shadowfall. The slave races are rising up. The Zarkathi are responding with excessive force, just as you predicted. Mitchell watched the tactical display from the Defiance Bridge as red dots indicating Zarkathi patrol ships scrambled to respond to dozens of simultaneous uprisings. Their pride is their weakness. They can't ignore any challenge to their authority, no matter how small. Admiral, her comm officer interrupted. Priority message from Shadow Pack 3. They've discovered something disturbing. The transmission showed images of a new type of Zarkathi vessel. Massive black ships, their hulls studded with hybridized technology from multiple species. But what caught Mitchell's attention were the human neural interfaces clearly visible in their design. They're adapting faster than we anticipated, she muttered, using Conrad's research to combine technologies in ways even the underground hadn't predicted. A sudden alert blared through the bridge. Multiple hostiles dropping out of FTL, the tactical officer shouted. It's an ambush. The new Zarkathi hybrid ships emerged from hyperspace, their weapons already firing. Mitchell's wolf pack scattered, but the enemy vessels moved with unprecedented coordination, predicting their escape vectors. They're using human intuition combined with their neural networks, Mitchell realized. All ships switched to random evasion patterns. Don't think, just react. The space battle devolved into chaos. Traditional tactics proved useless against enemies that could think like humans but process information at Zarkathi speeds. The Defiant shuddered under repeated hits. Admiral, Rivera's voice crackled through the comm. They're not targeting our weapons or engines. They're trying to disable our communications array. They want to stop us from spreading the truth. Mitchell's mind raced. The Overlords weren't just fighting to maintain control. They were fighting to maintain their lie. And they were willing to sacrifice tactical advantage to do it. All ships, new protocol, she commanded. Transmit everything. Every sensor reading, every communication, every piece of data we have about their true nature. Broadcast on all frequencies, encrypted and open. "But Admiral," her communications officer protested, "that'll give away our positions." "Exactly." Mitchell smiled grimly. "Rivera, remember that trick we used in the Tibet simulation? The one that got us both reprimanded at the Academy?" There was a smile in Rivera's voice, already plotting the coordinates. The Defiant suddenly broke formation, charging straight at the largest enemy vessel. The other Wolfpack ships followed suit, each broadcasting at maximum power. The Zarkathi ships adjusted to intercept, their hybrid systems predicting the optimal firing solutions. But Mitchell's ships weren't aiming to attack. At the last possible moment, they switched to minimum power, letting their momentum carry them while flooding local space with radiation from their reactor vents. The energy surge overwhelmed the sensitive neural interfaces of the hybrid ships, causing cascading systems failures. "Status report," Mitchell called out as they emerged from the chaos. "3 ships lost," Rivera responded solemnly. "But the Zarkathi fleet is crippled. And more importantly, our transmission got through." Reports coming in from across the sector. The occupied world saw everything. "The rebellions are spreading faster than they can contain them." Mitchell stared at the tactical display, watching as more and more systems erupted in revolt. The Zarkathi response was predictably brutal, but each act of suppression only served to validate the truth about their nature. "Send word to all wolf packs," she ordered. "Continue the shadow war. Let the Overlords expose themselves for what they really are." She paused, looking at the casualty reports from her lost ships. "And send these names to the underground. The crews who died today. They didn't just give their lives for humanity. They died to free every species that's ever been enslaved by the Zarkathi lie." The War of Shadows was working, but Mitchell knew the Overlords wouldn't take this revelation lying down. Their next move would be desperate, devastating. And soon, the combined rebel fleet emerged from FTL in waves, ships of a dozen different species united under a single cause. At their heart, Mitchell's human vessels led the charge toward the Zarkathi throne world, Imperius Prime. Multiple defense platforms activating, Rivera reported from the Shadowfall. They'd fortified the entire system. Energy readings are off the charts. Mitchell studied the tactical display from the Defiance Bridge. The Zarkathi had stripped defenses from 100 worlds to protect their capital, creating the largest concentration of military power in known space. "All ships, maintain formation," she ordered. "Remember the plan. We're not here to outfight them. We're here to outthink them." The first wave of Zarkathi hybrid ships moved to intercept, their human-enhanced systems predicting possible attack vectors. But Mitchell had spent weeks preparing for this moment, working with the underground scientists to develop a counter-strategy. "Execute Protocol Babel," she commanded. Throughout the rebel fleet, ships began broadcasting on random frequencies, their transmissions a carefully crafted mix of true and false tactical data. The Zarkathi neural networks, designed to process and adapt to enemy patterns, suddenly faced an overflow of contradictory information. "Their front line is falling into confusion," Rivera reported with satisfaction. "But Admiral, we're detecting massive energy buildup from the planet's surface. Something's happening in their central hive complex." The throne world's atmosphere rippled as a massive structure rose from beneath the surface, a weapon platform larger than any they'd ever encountered. Its design incorporated technology from every species the Zarkathi had conquered over millennia. "This is High Overlord Xthrak," a voice boomed across all frequencies. "You dare to challenge us? We are evolution itself. We are perfection. And now, witness our ultimate achievement." The weapon platform's center began to glow with impossible energy. In that moment, Mitchell understood. They hadn't just been stealing technology. They'd been building toward this, combining everything they'd taken into a single devastating weapon. "All ships, evasive action," she shouted, but it was too late. The beam lashed out, not at the rebel fleet, but past them, toward Earth's coordinates. The weapon's some kind of focused quantum tunnel, the science officer reported in horror. They're going to strike Earth without even being in the same system. Mitchell had seconds to make a decision. The fleet could try to stop the beam, but the casualties would be catastrophic. Or they could press the attack while the Zarkathi were focused on their superweapon, possibly winning the battle but losing Earth. "Admiral," Rivera's voice was quiet. "Whatever you decide, we're with you." Mitchell closed her eyes for a moment, remembering Earth's burning cities, the horror of the Enlightenment Center, the sacrifices that had brought them here. When she opened them, her decision was made. "All ships with quantum drives, form on my position," she ordered. "Everyone else, continue the attack. Rivera, you have tactical command of the fleet." "Admiral, what are you?" "The ghost ship showed us how to destroy their neural networks," Mitchell explained. "But it also showed us something else. Those crystalline patterns we saw. They weren't weapon damage. They were quantum shadows, echoes of ships interrupting a quantum tunnel." Understanding dawned in Rivera's voice. "You're going to intercept the beam in quantum space. Either we block it, or Earth burns." Mitchell's voice was calm. "And humanity didn't come this far to lose our home at the moment of victory." The Defiant and 12 other ships moved into position, their quantum drives spooling up to maximum power. As they accelerated toward the beam, Mitchell broadcast one final message to the fleet. "Remember what makes us strong," she said. "Not stolen technology, not genetic modification, but this, the willingness to sacrifice everything for what we believe in. The ability to choose our own destiny. Show them what humanity really is." The ships vanished into quantum space just as the beam reached their position. Reality itself seemed to shudder as unstoppable force met immovable determination. And in that moment, as human ingenuity clashed with stolen power, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The quantum collision lit up space like a newborn star. Mitchell's ships, caught between dimensions, became living shadows in the beam's path. The Defiant's hull screamed as reality itself tried to tear it apart. "Quantum field at 300% of maximum," her engineer shouted. "We can't hold this position." "We don't need to hold it," Mitchell replied through gritted teeth. "We just need to change it. Initiate the resonance cascade." The 13 human ships began vibrating in perfect harmony, their quantum drives synchronized to create a ripple effect through space-time. The Zarkathi beam, designed to tunnel through normal space, encountered something it was never meant to handle: human unpredictability weaponized. Above Imperius Prime, Rivera watched in awe as the beam began to crystallize, transformation racing back along its length toward the throne world. "All ships, press the attack," he ordered. "The Overlords are vulnerable." The rebel fleet surged forward, their coordinated assault breaking through the confused Zarkathi lines. On the surface below, the massive weapon platform began to shudder as its own energy turned against it. "This is High Overlord X Thrak." The voice was no longer confident, but in rage. "You primitives think you've won. We are the pinnacle of evolution. We cannot be defeated by." The transmission cut off as the crystallization effect reached the planet. The weapon platform, along with every neural network-controlled system on the surface, began to transform. The mighty Zarkathi Empire, built on stolen technology, was undone by the very power they had tried to contain. In quantum space, the Defiance bridge was barely holding together. "Hull breach on Deck 4. Someone called out. "Quantum drive reaching critical levels." "Admiral," Rivera's voice crackled through the failing comm system. "The beam is neutralized. Earth is safe. Get out of there." Mitchell looked at her tactical display, now showing more static than data. The other ships in her group were already falling back, their quantum fields collapsing. But she saw something else, a pattern in the crystallization effect, spreading through the Zarkathi fleet. "Not yet," she said quietly. "There's one more thing we need to do." Her fingers flew across the command console, redirecting the last of their power. "Rivera, transmit this pattern to all ships. Tell them to modulate their quantum signatures to match." The rebel fleet, following Rivera's orders, began adjusting their systems. The crystallization effect, instead of destroying indiscriminately, became selective, targeting only the stolen neural technology that had given the Zarkathi their power. Throughout the system, Zarkathi ships began to drift, their crews suddenly freed from the neural networks that had both controlled and enhanced them. The mighty Overlords were reduced to what they had been before their campaign of theft. Just another species among many. The Defiant shuddered one final time as Mitchell engaged their emergency return protocols. The ship rematerialized in normal space, its hull scared and systems failing, but intact. "Status report," she called out, helping a fallen crew member back to their station. "The Zarkathi fleet is surrendering," Rivera responded from the Shadowfall. "Their ground forces are in chaos. The rebellion. We actually did it. Admiral, we won." Mitchell looked at the tactical display, now showing the throne world below. Already, ships from dozens of species were approaching, ready to reclaim their stolen heritage. But it was what she didn't see that made her smile. "No, Commander," she said. "We did something better than winning. We proved them wrong. About humanity, about evolution, about strength." She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Mitchell to all ships. Set course for Earth. Let's go home." As the combined fleet prepared to depart, leaving teams to help stabilize the former empire, Mitchell recorded one final log entry. The Zarkathi believed that evolution meant taking from others, that strength came from dominance. They were wrong. True evolution comes from innovation, from cooperation, from the willingness to risk everything for what's right. Humanity didn't win because we were stronger or smarter. We won because we remained human. And in doing so, we didn't just save Earth. We helped free a galaxy. The fleet jumped to quantum space, leaving behind the crystallized ruins of empire and taking with them the dawn of a new age. An age where humanity would lead not through force or stolen power, but by example. An age of true evolution.